Hello, everyone. I'm going to talk a little bit about the humanitarian data space as a concept to show why it is really important to have fair OLR tools in place and what they can really mean and do when you're trying to find and access under the right conditions data. So this humanitarian data space is not a space that aggregates data and puts it together in a large data set. No, it actually cannot access any data at all. The data is stored locally and locally owned, but it is findable through fair data points. And those fair data points describe what data is in the locally owned data set and the locally controlled data sets. So I can find information about it. For example, I can find the IPA fair data point, and I can find the data sets that are linked to the IPA and the Tangaza fair data point here. And then I can find out more information about those data sets. For example, what is in them, um, what is the contact details to find out more about the data, and for example, where is the data stored? However, I can't access it from the fair data point, but what I can do is find out what is available. If I am the owner of this data, I can also log into the humanitarian data space so that I can access and query the data. If I am not the owner of the data, then the data space asks or allows me to make a request for access to the data. In order to do that, I can select a data set, for example, this one, and then I can say make a request, compose a request, and fill in my information to send a request to the data owner. So the data space is special because it allows us to find out more about which data is available across a host of fair data points. And those fair data points are all configured to show information relevant about the data and about the relevant data sets. So it's the metadata of the data sets and not the data itself. But what it does allow me to do is then to see which data is available and contact the owners of that data if I want to know anything more. And then the data owners will have the control at all times to approve or to not approve the query request, or perhaps to find out more information. So the revolutionary thing about the data spaces is that the machine algorithms can really view and access that information where it has been properly structured and made accessible by the data owners. That makes the data findable, accessible under very well-defined conditions. In this case, you have to request the data owner to make it accessible. It is interoperable. We can find, for example, keywords across the fair data points. And it is reusable in the sense that if I am interested in any of these data sets, I can request and substantiate the request for access to this data, which the data owner can then grant or not grant. So that shows the importance of fair tools, fair OLR tools, to create a federated system where we don't aggregate the data in one big data space. That's not the idea. The idea is that from the data space, we can find out which data is available, what is in the data, and from there we can decide what we would like to do. But it's always in the hands of the locally stored owners of the local data what to do with those requests. Thank you for listening.